Hello everyone, this is Andres Restart, and today we are going to be talking about how Nintendo may be about to go absolutely wild for Mario's 40th anniversary. Now to be clear, we are talking about a couple rumors here that are supporting this idea of Nintendo celebrating Mario's 40th anniversary. And when you also think about the history of things, Nintendo every 5 years has a big celebration for Mario, and every 5 years, it's even bigger and bigger. The 25th, the 30th, the 35th, each time it's become more and more significant, and so this time, it seems like the stars are aligning here to have an even bigger celebration for Mario's 40th anniversary. And we've talked about this concept before, but with these recent rumors of a Super Mario Galaxy 2 remaster, I think it's another piece of the puzzle here that really helps to illuminate what actually may be going on. And this doesn't just tie into a Galaxy 2 remaster, which is exciting in and of itself, but also with the Mario movie, other Mario Universe games, and of course the big one, 3D Mario. What's the plan here? That's what I'd like to dive even further into discussion on today. Let me tell you about this sleep mask from Manta Sleep, the sponsor for today's video. If you find yourself in need of a little bit of extra rest or an afternoon nap, then this sleep mask might be a great fit for you. When I tried it out, I was actually surprised at how soft and comfortable it is, and when you put it upon your face, it does its job. It blocks out all light and it puts you in a position to sleep quite easily, undisturbed. And I also found that the back strap was highly adjustable and not abrasive in any way. It was all very comfortable and soft to put on. So if you're looking to improve your sleep, check out the Manta Sleep mask in the link in the description below with my code SLEEPRESTART. So let's first dive into this discussion about Mario Galaxy 2. So recently, we got a rumor from Special Nick from the Xbox Era podcast who went into one of Nintendo Prime's live streams and said he heard that we might be getting a Galaxy 2 remaster. And Nintendo Prime reached out to Special Nick in DMs and got more clarification, and this isn't just like some sort of joke or anything like that. This is a legitimate thing that Special Nick has heard. And he's heard it from the same source that told him everything about the Switch 2 pricing, release timing, and bundles, which he was totally spot on about. And Special Nick over the years has shown to have industry sources here. So yes, he is considered to be an insider. He does have contacts. And so what we have here is a legitimate rumor that we are getting a Super Mario Galaxy 2 remaster. And this becomes increasingly more interesting when we consider that we actually had another rumor about a Mario Galaxy 2 remaster a few months ago, going back to November of last year. So here on Twitter in this Nash Weedle thread, as many of you know, I've been talking about Nash Weedle a lot lately because they keep getting things right about Nintendo. They are proving to be maybe one of the better leakers when it comes to Nintendo things. But a Jane on Twitter had asked Nash Weedle, "Wonder if Mario Galaxy 2 will come to Switch, don't you think?" And Nash Weedle says, "Es muy probable 2025. It's very probable for 2025. And then Jane follows it up by asking, "This is a hint that it's coming during the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Bros., isn't it?" And Nash Weedle says, I'll just read the translation here, "It will be a great 40th anniversary with several surprises." So Nash Weedle here is suggesting there will be a Mario 40th anniversary, which is not really anything too crazy to say because every 5 years, Nintendo does a big celebration for Mario. And as I've already said, every 5 years, it gets bigger and bigger. But going back to the 35th anniversary, where we actually had a dedicated Mario Anniversary Direct in September, the anniversary month of Mario, they announced a variety of things, including Super Mario 3D All-Stars. And the thing about Super Mario 3D All-Stars, it included Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, all slightly enhanced. But many people were wondering about Mario Galaxy 2. This is when the discussion on us getting a Galaxy 2 remaster began, because many people thought that that should have been included, yet it never was, and we were always scratching our heads, why might that be? Well, perhaps Nintendo's been holding back on it for a rainy day or for a better time where it could take the spotlight, be the focus. And maybe that time is now for Mario's 40th anniversary. Now you might be wondering, well, why not a big 3D Mario game? Well, that is a whole other component to this conversation for sure. And basically what we understand right now is that at least part of the Mario Odyssey team, this has been confirmed, is working on Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, I do not believe even for a moment that Nintendo has not been working on 3D Mario these last 8 years or so since Mario Odyssey. I absolutely think they have been, and I still believe that a part of the Odyssey team is working on 3D Mario. But because of Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think it's clear that 3D Mario most likely will not be coming out this year, and a variety of different insiders have been suggesting that to be the case. Now, maybe Nintendo will surprise us, you never really know for sure, but right now the overwhelming consensus is that 3D Mario is not coming out this year, but that doesn't mean it should be too far off. I think it should still be fairly close. You look at things historically speaking, by the second holiday for every Nintendo console generation, there is a mainline Mario release. So I definitely think that history will repeat itself for like the umpteenth time, and there will be a mainline Mario release, a 3D Mario release, by the end of 2026. And if you've gotten to this point and you find yourself enjoying my content, I do have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers, so your subscription would be appreciated. So basically, I'm thinking holiday 2026 is when we see the next 3D Mario. But because of this situation, it does make more sense to have something like a Mario Galaxy 2 remaster come out perhaps for this holiday to tide Mario fans over and have something to show off and celebrate for Mario's 40th anniversary this year. Now, I can see a scenario where we can have a September presentation celebrating Mario's 40th anniversary, and they can still tease 3D Mario. If this is the next big 3D Mario, they could tease it that far in advance. Maybe it would be a very subtle tease if it is more than a year in advance, but given that it's Mario's 40th anniversary, I think that's pretty plausible. Now, some people might think it's foolish to announce a Galaxy 2 remaster around the same time as a big 3D Mario, but I don't really agree with that because there would be some healthy space here. We're talking about a year's worth of space, if not a little bit more. And they can still be announced in the same presentation, potentially. One would be a remaster, another would be a totally new game. These would be two very different things, and we've seen Nintendo do very similar things in the past. Going back to the Mario 35th Anniversary Direct, they announced Super Mario 3D All-Stars, that compilation of 3 enhanced 3D Mario games. But you want to know what else they announced during this presentation? An enhanced version of Super Mario 3D World, plus Bowser's Fury, a whole new 3D Mario campaign included in that game, and it came out only a few months later, less than half a year later. 3D All-Stars came out in September, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury came out in the February afterwards. So they came out within close proximity and were announced in the exact same Nintendo Direct presentation. A Mario Galaxy 2 remaster and a 3D World tease in the same Direct I don't think would be a stretch, and they'd be probably separated by over a year in terms of release timing, I would say. And then just another example, we've seen the release of Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe in a January going back to 2019, and then just a few months later, Mario Maker 2 in June released. So two 2D Mario platformers came out within 6 months of each other. So yes, I think it's totally conceivable that we can see a Mario Galaxy 2 remaster come out this year, and the next brand new mainline 3D Mario game come out next year. But there's a lot more to discuss about this whole anniversary situation here. First off, I'm actually theorizing that if this Galaxy 2 remaster is legitimately happening, there's a great chance it's not saved for a September Direct announcement, because that's when the anniversary is actually happening. I would presume that this kind of thing would actually be out for the anniversary. So either A, it's shadow dropped or announced to come out just like a week or two later as they did for 3D All-Stars back in 2020, or it's announced in a Nintendo Direct very soon from now, sometime this month of July, as the rumors have been suggesting. Maybe even this week, although some are arguing that maybe it happened in the last week. Both are possibilities. We'll see what actually happens. Regardless though, I think that if we are going to get a Galaxy 2 remaster, and if it is meant to be something that could help tide Mario fans over, and if it's its own independent release, it may be a little bit more ambitious than what we saw from 3D All-Stars, they may want to announce this a few months in advance of actual release here, so this potential announcement might not be that far off. But we aren't done yet with talking about how Nintendo may celebrate Mario's 40th anniversary, Yeah, a Galaxy 2 remaster would be great. Yeah, a teaser for the next 3D Mario would also be great, but they can still do a lot more. And perhaps not so coincidentally, I think this might be by design, the next Mario movie is going to be coming out early next year. I would not be surprised, in fact, I expect that we are going to get our first trailer for the Mario movie this year, perhaps during the celebrations for Mario's 40th anniversary this September. So I anticipate that the marketing for Mario's 40th anniversary will also coincide with the marketing for the Mario movie. And yet, there is still more to consider here. So taking a look at Mario Kart World, we've gotten a better understanding of what's going on with Mario Kart World, I would say. Because we've been theorizing that they're going to be adding some new content to Mario Kart World pertaining to Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, we do not know for sure with 100% certainty if they are going to add new content to Mario Kart World to celebrate Donkey Kong Bonanza, but it seems really likely. Because what we have seen is that both Donkey Kong and Pauline are missing a whole bunch of costumes. They each only have one alternate costume in contrast to all the other characters that have costumes in the game. They have far more. But a character like Donkey Kong, one of the OGs, doesn't have a whole bunch of other costumes. What's going on with that? And then Pauline, a fairly important character, not really any less important than Rosalina or Daisy, and she doesn't have nearly as many costumes either. But what we have since gotten confirmation of is that Donkey Kong is going to have a whole bunch of costumes in Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Pauline is the co-star in Bonanza who will also be getting a whole bunch of costumes. So it seems like what they were waiting on was Donkey Kong Bonanza, and at some point relatively soon, they may be dropping a whole bunch of new costumes for Donkey Kong and Pauline in Mario Kart World to help celebrate the release for Bonanza, and maybe this even includes some new characters like Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and Cranky Kong. These are possibilities. But what does this have to do with Mario's 40th anniversary? Sure, Donkey Kong's a part of the greater expanded Mario universe, but Donkey Kong Love isn't really celebrating the original release of Mario Bros. No, it's not. But what I'm getting at here is how Mario Kart World is going to be treated moving forward. Mario Kart World is probably going to be the best-selling title on Switch 2, and throughout the generation, they may be continually updating this game to celebrate different events or cross-promote different events, and I have to think that for Mario's 40th anniversary, there's gotta be some plans there as well. Some sort of DLC update, be it free, paid, some combination of the two. I think this is a pretty reasonable expectation, especially if they do add some content regarding Donkey Kong Bonanza, and we start to see maybe a little bit of a hint towards a roadmap of how they'll be updating Mario Kart World. So Mario Kart World is a whole other wrinkle to this entire Mario 40th anniversary plan. But there can still be more. Like in prior anniversaries, I'm sure there can be a whole bunch of different merchandising and different things like that. Maybe they'll do something with the Universal Park as well to further celebrate it. I'm sure that's a possibility. That might be a good time to go, actually. But as I've been theorizing throughout the year, we might be getting pretty close to an announcement for Luigi's Mansion 4. Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3 were developed by Next Level Games. Next Level Games comes out with a game every 3 years pretty consistently. 2025 is the year where they would be due if they are to follow the pattern. We have seen that throughout this year they've really done an uptick in hiring for a new project, suggesting that they might be wrapping up another project that could be coming out fairly soon, possibly this year, or at least maybe announced this year for Mario's 40th anniversary, and I think that would be Luigi's Mansion 4. I've also talked about how there's an interesting opening at the end of October for Nintendo's release schedule. They come out with Pokemon Legends ZA mid-October, and then 2 weeks later, October 30th, the day before Halloween, there's nothing coming out. Now some might say, we're already getting Pokemon, why would Nintendo release 2 games in 1 month? Well, if you look at the history of Nintendo releasing things during the October-November months, oftentimes they put out multiple major titles in a particular month. So a Switch 2 edition of a Pokemon game, and also a Switch 2 exclusive of maybe Luigi's Mansion 4 for Halloween, as they've done in the past with Luigi's Mansion 3, might actually be pretty plausible. And yet, there's another angle to consider here when talking about Mario's 40th anniversary, because it's also going to be the 35th anniversary for Yoshi, the release of Super Mario World, and we also know that Yoshi is going to be playing a significant role in the next Mario movie, and this is part of why we've been theorizing that maybe a Galaxy 2 remaster could be part of Mario's 40th anniversary for the last couple of years. Yoshi plays a significant role in Galaxy 2. So perhaps for Mario's 40th anniversary, it's not just about celebrating Mario, but also Yoshi. And something else to further back up this idea, and to be clear, none of this is confirmation, but it is an interesting little bit of evidence. During the American Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, some people spotted an icon for Yoshi's Woolly World, which has never come out for Nintendo Switch when talking about compatible Nintendo Switch games. Now, it has been noted that in other versions of the Direct in Europe and Japan, it's actually Yoshi's Crafted World. So is this simply an error, or did they create a new icon for Yoshi's Woolly World for Nintendo Switch because, well, they actually have plans to eventually add this game to the lineup for Switch 1. When you think about it, Nintendo does have to add some games to the Switch 1 lineup, even though Switch 2 has come out because they want to support Switch 1 for at least a couple more years to some extent. And that they also may want to put out something celebrating Yoshi in conjunction with Mario for this big anniversary plan. I think it's pretty plausible that for Mario's 40th anniversary, we could see the announcements of Yoshi's Woolly World coming to Switch 1 and by extension also Switch 2, a Mario Galaxy 2 remaster. I'm going to assume that's just for Switch 2, but we'll see how things pan out. Maybe a teaser for 3D Mario, news on the Mario movie, some cool updates to Mario Kart World, and possibly an announcement of Luigi's Mansion 4. All of that would be absolutely huge, and I would say would be Nintendo going absolutely wild with Mario's 40th anniversary. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways everyone, this is Andres Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Don't forget you can check out the Manta Sleep mask in the description below with my code SLEEPRESTART, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.